You're one of those who know exactly what it is to do TV and films right. Why does it seem that we're not getting it right here in Nigeria?
The problems are stacked high. They've moved from challenges to problems. I think basically, if you bring it down to the, basics, I think it's distribution of content, whether it's on TV, by films. We have 197 TV stations or so, we are told. But this is the only country in the world where a producer buys airtime to air anything. Ordinarily, the TV station should commission, buy programs from the independent. He doesn't. So the independent has an issue of buying the programs, making the programs, buying the airtime, finding the adverts to go on it. The adverts comes, the payment, it has a payment cycle of 90 days. 90 days is a quarter. So you don't get your money until a quarter. That's if you ever get it, because the agencies will tell you all stories. I mean, they've owed me for 2 years, 3 years for some of my things. In fact, some of them you can't collect. They'll tell you it's a bad debt. So you find out that for television, for instance, because of that, the funding of television programming is very bad. So funding has a lot to do with quality. It's very difficult to ask a human being to spend so much money making a very good program that you will not get a return on. That's for TV. That's, for me, the basics. For film, it's equally the same thing. Our distribution is very poor. You're talking about 40 films a week. That's 160 a month. Going to 3 distribution points. Iweka Road, Idumota, Pound Road, Aba. From there, you are distributing to 150 million Nigerians, 200 million West Africans, over 1 billion Africans, and what of the Nigerians and Africans in the diaspora? You are distributing from 3 markets. And because the distribution is inadequate, you leave it open for pirates to complete the leg. So you're concentrating on making the production work. You're not bothering about buying the airtime and all that stuff. So in the end, you had a good program. But right now, there's hardly any TV station that is buying. The only person buying is Mnet. The others are not. They are selling their airtime, which is against every rule. World, the NBC code, you don't sell airtime.
So why is NBC not coming out to say something about it?
Exactly my point. NBC will tell you if it's against their code, they will kick against it. But we've been telling them, according to them, there's not been any formal, presentation to them about. Then you ask yourself, okay, which formal group should go? Again, they will tell you, because you people are not together. So, but why do we have to be together? Why does it have to be a formal complaint before you notice that airtime are being sold? So that's a major issue. So,
it takes us to content making.
Yeah.
Something you talked about in an interview you granted some time ago, you said Nigeria was leading in Africa.
Yeah.
How do you justify that with all of the criticism trailing the movie industry in Nigeria?
The people who are criticizing, I wish they could show me the benchmark. You can't compare Nigeria, the Nollywood, if it's Nollywood we are talking about, is a totally different film industry. It was 1992, I think, or 93, that Nollywood, as presently constituted, started with Kenneth Nibwe's film. Of course, there's a lot of argument about that. But that was 1992. To date, that's not even how many years. It's not even 20. So it's still young. It has its own problem, like we said. We don't work in the same environment as other people. You can't compare us with South Africa, where they have so much money, they have studios there, but they make about 10, 20 films a year. In terms of quantity, yeah. And out of that quantity, there are quite a lot that have quality. That's why we say, in terms of a movement, we have a big, powerful movement. You talk about the French West African countries. They make all kinds of movies funded by France, and they finish making it. France takes them, puts them inside a warehouse, and okay, they take them to awards, international festivals. Sometimes they win, sometimes they don't. But is it making money for his own people? No. Is everybody making a film? No. But here it's a movement. It's a big thing. And believe me, trust me, once distribution happens and people can make back money on their investment, you find out that the quality of films will improve.
We'll come back to distribution. Let's look at quantity now. BBC focused on Africa some time ago that Nigeria is, of course, a very large movie producing country, third behind Bollywood and Hollywood.
Yeah. Second right now, according to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What exactly can be done to improve on the quality?
It's just one thing. Money, money, money. I'll tell you why. Money will buy the training that people need. There's a lot of... Don't forget, the people who are practicing in this industry, majority of them did not go to any film school. I didn't go to any film school. We're all self-taught. So you can imagine what will happen. I probably have gone to a lot of training. Quite a number of young people are now going to film school here and there. But when you go, you come back, you have to still find funding to make the film. And before you become seasoned, there's a training of going to know the books. There's one that comes with actual work. And then there's a training that comes with training in America to work where there are sound stages and superb camera people. There's one that comes with what you probably would consider Jankara production, what they call jungle filmmaking. There are different types. So I believe that once distribution, which equals money, is in place, people can make a film. Then you start practicing filmmaking the way it's supposed to be practiced. But the way it is now, a lot of the professional people who should know have left because they are not making back their money. The people who are practicing just have to survive because they don't have any other form of livelihood except this.
You have a very intimidating record when we talk about film production and directing. Some of your works addressed male chauvinism, polygamy, the Osuka system. What exactly informed some of those works? Did you just sit down and looked at Nigeria and some of the culture?
I'm tickled by the male chauvinism thing. No wonder people working here. Some woman from some Denmark came in and said he had to interview me, said I was a feminist. I'm not a feminist, so I believe men have 33 extra muscles than women. Anyway, that aside, what I'm trying to say, I don't set out to work with themes. That's not the way I'm trained. I'm trained to work to entertain people. The Osuka system worried me a lot when I grew up to realize that certain people, I started asking why. I did quite an extensive research. In fact, I have a film that I'm going to shoot this year that deals with it totally. The history, the antecedents of the Osuka system. So there's a lot of questions asked, a lot of research, a lot of looking at life, how does it work, what's going on. And then the stories brew. And when people like you watch it, they start analyzing and telling me it's chauvinism and all that. It's really not what I set out to do. I set out to tell a story that will resonate with people. Because if it does, then they will buy, they will watch, they will enjoy.
Was that what was on
They will
your
be
mind
entertained, yeah.
when you came up with Fuji House of Commotion?
Definitely. Fuji House is my own laughter at society. I laugh at Nigeria. For me, Fuji House is Nigeria. It's a perfect Nigeria. Inside, we don't agree. But once we're outside, you see two Nigerians, you won't even know whether one is Igbo or Hausa. Once you see that green passport, you say, Niger, then the person starts, if you can't speak Igbo or Yoruba, you start blowing pidgin. And everybody, you intimidate people around you. That's Fuji House. I think if you understand that the audience we have is 250 million people, tribes, I mean ethnic groups, and each person has to be taken care of. We have children,
they have
peculiarities and needs. You have children, you have educated, you have illiterate, you have non-educated, you have people who can read and write, you have the deaf, you have the dumb. I write for everybody. I write for, my sister is deaf, I write for her. My story, she must understand without hearing a word. Yeah.
Now, one of your lead actors, if I put it that way, Mama Towani, recently passed. How did it feel when you heard that news?
I was in denial for over a month. It's a very difficult thing for me. She called me the day before. Nothing wrong with her. And it's a woman I worked with for close to 20 years from the days of Checkmate, and it took a while for me to believe it. And unfortunately, I wasn't there when they buried her. So sometimes I still don't believe it. I just get shocked when I think about it, and I will bury her. I will do an episode of Checkmate, just to episode of Fuji House to honor her. And she was a consummate artist, and she was much more than an artist to me. We've known each other for, I remember in the days of Checkmate, she would say, when she's done, because Fuji House used to record on Thursdays, when she's done, she say, Amaka, I'm not going, I'm going to be here until next week. That meant I'll have to keep some money aside, give it to the welfare officer, take care of her. Whatever she wants, you look after her, And she will give me gifts. I remember the last thing she gave me was a lace material, she bought for me. And that's not, she normally would do that all the time. It was a giving person, and when I go to her house, she would say, my guy has come, he'll call everybody, and then she'll order drinks and then tell me to pay. Things like that. She was my friend.
What do you miss about her? Can you remember any episode that you would say she was really at her best?
Every episode. And when you're rehearsing, I'll tell her, Mama tea, she will say. I call her Mamu tea, I'll drink tea. She will say, if there's bread. Then I'll tell her, she will say, don't worry. She'll speak in beautiful classic English. Don't worry. And then when you say roll tape, she goes into character and she blows you apart. Then she will laugh at me like, you didn't need to worry. And each time she gets me, each time I worry. You're not getting into this, not what. He said, don't worry. And sometimes you quarrel. I remember one day she annoyed me. I was very angry. I told her off. And then I walked away. Then I came back. And I called everybody together and I apologized to her. Everybody was like, I remember the costume person said to me she learned a big lesson that day. Because she was obviously in the wrong. But I apologized. I said, because no matter what, she's older than me. So I'm sorry I was not rude, but I still think, this is the way. And she took it, and that was it.
In Nigerian movies, a lot of people talk about the cast. They talk about the artists, that some of them are not up to the roles that they play. Most of the works that you have, how do you go about picking the group of people that you work with? Checkmate was a blast. Fuji House of Commotion, the same thing, and some of the other works you've done. Why is it difficult to have the same in most of these movies, I would say?
Like I said, most of these people don't take their time. Where is the training? Do they know what what it takes to cast? Casting is a skill. It's also a gift. Then how much time do you give the artist to get into character, to understand the role? I'll tell you a story. Someone finished shooting a movie, was being interviewed for that movie, as part of publicity thing. She couldn't remember the name of the film she was talking about. I call them cash and carry actors. They really, really just don't cut it professionally. They are not professionals as far as I'm concerned. All they want to do is to make the money. In fact, you pay the money into their account, then they will tell you, look, I have only 4 days for this job. I don't care if you are Denzel Washington. You cannot deliver a credible character in 4 days. You more often than not act yourself. It's either you act yourself or you act what you acted in the other role. That's the actors. Some of the directors will say, you see that thing you played in Amaka Igwe's film? That's what I want you to play.
Who's responsible in putting the structures in place?
It is still us, the private people. But a lot of us are busy making films. All you want to do is to make a film. But how the film goes from script to screen, you don't care. Once you have made the film, in fact, most directors, they write it and they shoot it and then they drop it with the editor and they are gone. They are shooting another one.